Rangers of Shadowdeep by Joseph A. McCullough, Swampland. That explains the two-tone battle mat that we're using today. After a long day of travel, our four heroes reach the bottom of the longest stair to discover the titular Swampland. Now, in our last episode, Ukla the Mock here, he really took a beating. He did not make it down to off the table, but we rolled for his survival roll, and he did okay. It was just a flesh wound after all. So here they are at the bottom of the stairs, and they find themselves descending into a thick cloud of choking ash and just rancid, stinking clouds. So to start the game, and before we get into the terrain itself, we're going to make either a survival or a will roll, toughness number 10. If we fail this roll, each of our guys will lose 2 hit points. He-Man here has a survival of +3, but he also has a will of +3. Makes no difference. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're looking for 7 or better, or else you lose 2 hit points. He-Man gets a 15. We get another 15 for Ukla. Thundar gets a 19, and here is our Princess Ariel, who has a will of +3. And she rolls a 9. So across the board, we're off to a great start. Now let's talk a little bit about the terrain. And you'll notice we have a blue cloth here in the foreground. This is a deep, dark, stanky pool. The whole table counts as rough ground. We're going to be moving at half speed the entire time we're through. When we're moving in the blue portion of the table, this is a rancid, swampy pool. You have to make a swim check at your first activation. That swim check has a toughness number of 5, and if you fail, you take points of damage equal to the number by which you failed. It gets even more complicated because notice how He-Man here has a shield. He's at a -1, so that becomes a toughness number of 6 for him. Fortunately, everybody in our unit here is wearing really light armor. If we had a tank, full plate and a shield and carrying treasure, you'd be at a total of -8 to that swim check. So we want to get across the water as fast as possible. You can see over here in the distance that this rough ground, we've got a couple of zombies. Each of these 3 zombies, and there's one over here, is protecting a clue marker. I've taken the liberty of rolling. You start each one in the center of the table. You roll a d10 for direction in inches, and they wound up here, here, and here. I'll point out a couple of other things. All of the terrain that you see here blocks the line of sight. As I said, we were at rough ground whenever you're on the green. And then I do have one pond over here by the fallen statue. The pond is uncrossable. We have 10 turns to get across the table. And of course, we want to try to investigate these clue markers because we have a bonus experience points there. I think we're just about done with the preliminaries and we can get to the action. And we have a fairly thick event deck. 10 turns. We've got cards ace through queen, which means I think that 2 cards won't be drawn, but the rest of them will. A lot of reinforcements, some random encounters on there as well. The way swimming works, when you start your activation in the deep water, you have to make that swim check. Notice we're not in deep water, but we do only move 3 inches because of that deep water for our first activation. And for our second activation, we can just move 1.5 inches. As I said, so altogether that means instead of moving our 9 inches, our heroes are only going to be able to move 4.5. And I think we're going to go ahead and, well, now look at here. Ukla is going to move 1.5 inches, leaving him with 4.5 inches. We can move 2.25, and then another 1.5 inches will take him to there. And Ariel is just going to stop right about there. I think we keep her protected because her fight skill is terrible. Although, you know what? I forgot. We're going to move Ariel last because in our hero phase, we can move 2 companions, and then Ariel is going to move after all the bad guys go. Notice that I cheated a little bit. I put a drowned bridge fairly close to where our stairs are. There was a chance that we had clue markers over here. As it is, they all wound up kind of dead ahead off to the right instead of the left, so the bridge doesn't do us any good, but these are the chances you take. The bad news is the swamp zombies are amphibious. So while this one moves 4 inches like so, he will be able to move an additional 2 inches. He's not slowed down by the presence of the water. I'm going to start with the guys that are all the way in the back here, and they're going to move up to the nearest like that. And then notice how this one is only 4 inches. They have a movement of 4. They have 6 health, and they have a fight skill of 0, armor 12. So that's what we're looking at. They are undead, of course, so we have our first fight right here. This swamp zombie is fighting He-Man in the swamp. The red die will be for our hero, and the blue die will be for the swamp zombie. Let's see what happens. Our hero rolls a total of He-Man has a fight +4, but he is in the water, so that becomes fight 2. 17 is his winning score, and you Compare that to the armor of the guy, 17 minus 12 armor. He does 5 points of damage, leaving this swamp zombie with just 1 hit point. Princess Ariel announces that she is wearing a brand new pair of boots. She is not going to get them spoiled. I guess they're Uggs or something like that. She has a teleport spell. She can teleport 9 inches. We're going to bring her over here to the bridge. She is already off the water. We don't want to get her stuck in the water. Her fight skill is already kind of pathetic. It's at -2, I want to say. Where are you, Princess Ariel? Yeah, she fights at -2. So by getting her up here, at least we aren't fighting at a -4. That is her first activation. She does have her wrist blasters. We use the same profile for the knives. So she's going to take a shot at this swamp zombie right here. The nearest one, the only one in range. She's going to hit with a value of, or her shoots even of 6, which isn't enough to overcome his armor. So we move on. That's the end of the turn. We draw our first action card, or event card, 6 of hearts. Checking the list here on our chart here, see red 6. Sinkhole, randomly select 1 hero. We're going to use a D4. Well, let's do this. 1 through 5, 6 through 10, up to 15, and up to 20. 18. So Ukla steps in a sinkhole. This figure has become tangled in underwater vines. Whenever this figure activates, it must make a strength roll or be unable to move during its activation. Continues each turn until the roll is successful. He gets +2 for each friendly figure within 1 inch, but not in combat. Now, the good news is he has a strength +5. So that is only a toughness number of 7. And we can just do that right now because we move on to the next turn. And this is turn number 2. Ukla the Mock needs a 7 or better, and he breaks free of the vine immediately. He does need to make his swimming roll if he wants to activate, and with a 16, he is successful. Now the question is, do we get him out of the water first? He can move a total of 3 inches. I think we do. Let's go ahead and get these guys up. So that's his first activation, and then he's only going to be able to move 1.5 inches to here. Our hero is going to be able to move. Oh, he has to make a swim check. Thundar rolls a 6, and I think that's not good for us. Forgive me, he has a swim +3. He is just fine. And because he is only 3 inches away, he will be able to use his second activation to combat this particular swamp zombie right here. He rolls a 4, even with his fight +4, despite the fact that he wins this battle. Now, because he wins the battle, this is something I tend to forget. Even though he did not overcome the swamp zombie's fight skill, he won. So he can push that zombie back 1 inch, which is exactly what we're going to do. The next guy we're going to activate is going to be He-Man down here. He-Man is going to have to pass a swim roll to start. And with an 18, he passes. Then he fights at -1, or -2 to his fight skill. He gets a 16. He beats the swamp zombie, and that will kill that first swamp zombie. We'll put it up here. And experience points are by side, not by dude. So here the problem is, I've got 2 swamp zombies that are both going to converge on He-Man. I probably should have kept Ukla over this way a little bit more. He-Man is now going to get attacked by 2 zombies, but we do one at a time. So the first zombie uses his first activation to get into contact, and then we fight. And He-Man gets, or I'm sorry, Thundar there gets a total of 16 -12 does 4 points of damage. That is not enough to kill that zombie, which puts He-Man in a difficult spot because the second zombie will be able to rush over. So there's 2 hit points left on this zombie. The second zombie will be able to rush over, and now that second zombie has a +2 to his fight because he is being assisted by a friend. So now that zombie gets a 15. He beats the 11 for our hero, and our hero does not have great armor. He only has an armor of, I want to say 10 for our barbarian. But he is tough. He takes half damage from melee attacks. So what does that mean altogether? It means our 15 becomes 2.5, or 15 becomes 5 points of damage, but because he's tough, that's going to be 3 altogether. He goes down to 16 health. I tend to forget some of these abilities. I need to start checking my character sheets a little beforehand. See, level 4. There's my character sheet for Thundar the Barbarian and the after-school specials. I don't know if I introduced them as that yet. So that's it for the zombies. The companion phase goes, and that's Princess Ariel. Now, she does have a heal spell, but the heal spell has a range of 6 inches. Wah, wah, wah. I'm going to rule that the bridge here is not rough ground. It's a nice bridge. No, it's rain slick, so we'll call it rough ground anyway. We'll move her 3 inches to there, and then we're going to bring her another 1.5 inches. She's got to come around that bush, and maybe we'll try to get her over to the bones here so she can investigate. I feel a little nervous, man. If we have any of our enemies coming in on that side of the board, we may be in trouble. But that does mark the end of the turn. So we can turn over another activation card, and the red ace puts us at another special. Randomly choose one hero that is in deep water. Wait a minute, we don't have. If no figures are in deep water, place one zombie at the center point of the table opposite the stairway. So we take in the whole table, and that means this zombie appears right here on the opposite side. We're going to have to fight our way past him. That's the end of turn number 2. Let's move on to turn number 3. We need some help over here, and that help is going to come in the form of He-Man to the rescue, as is always the case. Now, He-Man is at a -1 because of his shield there. Toughness number 5. -1 is 5, so he will be able to activate this turn. Whew! But he'll only be able to move 3 inches, and I think he's going to be a little too far away to help out. He can move into contact with this wounded zombie, and we're going to pull him around like this to show you that even though he can't attack that zombie, I wonder if he gets a charge bonus. I might have forgotten some charge bonuses. But even though he can't attack this zombie, that means that Thundar is now fighting on an even basis. So Thundar is going to use his activation to attack this zombie. And Thundar is going to win that fight a total of 15 to 11, which will do 3 points of damage to this zombie. But I think I want to use Powerful. Once per game, Thundar can add extra oomph to his Sun Sword and do +3 damage, which will kill this swamp zombie. And that means one less attack we have to fight. We can move one more guy, and we're going to move Princess Ariel her 4.5 inches to get her to right here. We still have Ukla to go, but we're going to wait until the swamp zombies are done. This swamp zombie is easy. He's going to have to move 4 inches to here for his... Oh, no, he moves 2 inches, and then he moves a 1/3 inch. They only have a movement of 4, and even though they're amphibious, he still moves at half speed. Then this zombie here is going to fight He-Man, and with a roll of 5 to 4, what do we do here? Do we move him away? Yeah, let's push him 1 inch away. So he's still stuck with 2 hit points, but a 9 for the attack roll is not enough to overcome that. Ukla now gets to go, and we're going to send Ukla. He can move 4.5 inches. He's going to come up even with this clue marker right here. And as soon as you touch a clue marker, your activation ends, and you have to /get to roll on the clue marker chart. There are a total of 4 entries on this chart. Notice we only have 1, 2, 3 clues on the table. We'll take this one off because we just discovered it, which means it's a different each time you play this. Even if you find all 3, you don't have the option of being able to discover everything there is to discover. We roll a 20 bone blade. Buried in the mud, you find a strange sword that appears to be made of bone. Make an armory roll. Toughness number 6, and I think Ukla has to do that. With a 6, we make it. You feel a slight magic tingle and decide to keep it. The bone blade does not count as a magic weapon, but anyone wielding it receives +1 fight when fighting skeletons or zombies. We'll add that to our chart, or to our I think we'll probably give that to He-Man against zombies, but Ukla, remember, he's super strong. He counts as wielding a 2-handed weapon, even though they're just his great big powerful mitts. So he does +2 damage all the time. I think we're going to stick with that. If we give him the bone blade, then we lose that, and it's just not worth it, I don't think. But that does end the turn for this 3rd turn. We draw another special card. We get a 3 of hearts, and that is places swamp zombie in a randomly determined corner of the table. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, through 10, through 15, and through 20 is how we'll do it. And a 20 means the swamp zombie is going to appear way off down there. Moving on to turn number 4, we're going to charge into combat with Thundar. That's his first activation. His second activation will be to fight. We get a total of 3. Oh, that did not go well for us. 19 minus 10 is 9 points of damage. Halved because we're super tough. And that's still going to be 5 points of damage, taking Thundar down to 11 points. Can you use tough more than once per game? Maybe you can't. We're going to call it 7 points. It's never clear to me whether that's the case or not. Thundar is now down to just 7 hit points. That means we got to bring He-Man over to support. He-Man's going to be fighting at a total of +6 because he's helping a friend. 20 is finally going to do it. 20 minus 12 is 8. He's only got 2 left, and we good. The question now becomes, do we want to bring Ukla over or do we want to bring Ariel over? And I think we want to bring Ukla over towards this clue marker over here. We seem to do pretty good with him, so we put him there. He can kind of draw aggro from this zombie. The zombie is amphibious, so we'll allow him to move across that swamp that our heroes cannot. In fact, that's what happens next. I'm going to move this zombie that's way off in the corner. You can't see him yet. He's going to make a beeline straight for our heroes. And then this guy as well is going to move. He only gets to move 6 inches. So that second move will bring him into contact, but that's about all he can do this turn. It does prevent Ukla from reaching that clue marker on this turn. Who has not gone yet? Oh, Ariel has not. So Ariel will come into contact with this clue marker, and we'll have to roll another d20 to find out what that clue is. And with a result of a 5, strange flowers. You found some strange purple flowers of a type you don't recognize. After the scenario, one figure makes a survival roll to study them. And then basically we get like a free potion out of that. So that's kind of fun. That's kind of nice. At the end of turn 4, we draw another card. This game really snaps along once you get rolling, doesn't it? The Red Jack. Randomly select one hero. That figure suffers some form of infection. 1 through 5, through 10, 15, 20. 1 through 5, there we go. So there's Princess Ariel. Apparently, she found some magic poison ivy. Princess Ariel grabs it, her hands start itching, and she has to make a... What did that say? It said she has to make a health roll with a toughness number of 16. And that's terrible. If you are diseased, you only get 1 activation, and it's for this scenario and the next. Toughness number is 16. On a 1, she completely fails it, and that's the end of the turn. To start off the next turn, Princess Ariel is going to be the first character we activate. She is going to use her 3 inches of movement to get to here, and then she's going to cast a heal spell on herself. She no longer counts as diseased. Or if we want to, alternatively, we could say, well, we'll move, Thundar is going to move up to here, and they can trade heal spells. I think that's a little more giving, don't you? A little more generous. And so she's not diseased anymore, and he is going to regain 5 of his lost hit points. So he goes from 7 to 12, and I'm feeling a little better about his survival prospects. The last thing we have to do is fight Ukla and our swamp zombie. Ukla rolls a 17. He is at +4. Our zombie is at 18. 21 is the winner, and that becomes a 23 for damage purposes. 9 points of damage puts this zombie out in one great big honking blow, and that is going to end his activation. We do have 1 swamp zombie left on the table, and it has to take a bit of a circuitous route because he is... the bridge is in the way. Or can he go under the bridge? Let's put him under the bridge. I like that idea way better. So he's going to wind up right there. The zombies are slow enough. We're going to give him a little bit of credit. And I can just shift this right over there. See, look. See, the bridge has a little arch to it. He can go under the bridge. I guess he's a troll zombie, right? That's it for the bad guys. The last guy that's going to go is going to be He-Man. And the question becomes... Let's bring He-Man up 4.5 inches, all right? We want to get across the table. You get experience points for getting across the table. And I think that ends the turn. Except for our event card, number 5. The red 9 means, checking our chart, Red 9, place one giant fly at the base of the stairway. We still have a bunch of giant flies, so it's going to appear right at the same point as our heroes. He's coming back for vengeance for all the squash flies we had last time. The fly flies, hence the name, meaning he will not be affected by the necessity for a swim check. So what we're going to do is get her out of here. She is I don't want to say the weakest. She's got some great abilities. I wonder if she has any that we could use here. Heal, slow, teleport, and that's about it. So she has 3 spells: heal, teleport, and slow. And we could cast that on one of these enemies, but we're not too worried about it. We just want to get her to safety. And then we're going to move... Where should we move Ukla? Let's bring Ukla over... the clue marker's in the way. All right, we're going to have to bring our big boy up to check the clue. Thundar says, what could this be? And with a result of a 9, corpse. You find the corpse of a... Now, in the rules it says Laurenthian, but remember that in our campaign, it's He-Man's country, if you will, of... Oh, now I'm drawing a blank on it. What did they call that? One quick trip to Google. Oh man moment here. Eternia has been swallowed up. The power of Grayskull failed. They're trying to rescue Eternia from the Shadowdeep. And so we find an Eternian soldier. You know, the guys with the green helmets. The soldier is wearing a silver signet ring, which you take with you. All right, so we're looting corpses now, because that's the kind of thing heroes do. Our hero phase is not quite done. Now, the reason I did that is I want to bring Ukla around to kind of bodyguard her. This costs let's call it 2 inches of movement to clamber over, so we're just going to bring our heroes around the side. Remember, we just want to get off the table, right? Our hero's turn is over. Our swamp zombie is going to move. Oh, I didn't say whether this blocks line of sight. I think these are low enough they don't block line of sight. So the zombie will use its first move to get to here. I might have moved him too far on those first 2 moves. Oh no, he was in the water, which he's amphibious, so it doesn't slow him down. Now he's only able to move that inch and a half to right there. So we are going to be able to outrun him. In fact, to that end, we're going to go ahead and bring He-Man up to here. And, oh, I got to do the fly yet. He has a movement of 6, which means he can move a total of 9 inches. He's not slowed by rough ground. I think we're going to have to deal with him before the game is over. But we already moved He-Man, so that means the turn is over, and we flip over another card. We get the 10 of hearts. And on our special event chart, the 10 of hearts is a heavy rain starts to fall. For the rest of the scenario, line of sight is reduced to 8 inches. All shooting attacks are at -2. Line of sight is 8 inches. All right, got to remember that. That's the end of turn number 6. We move on to turn number 7. And we're going to move our heroes by running away. Ariel goes to here. Using both of his moves, Ukla follows suit. And we'll bring... should we bring our hero... Now we have to move our hero and 2 of the runners. We're going to bring our hero... We're just going to leave this zombie behind. We'll bring the hero up to there, and that means He-Man has not gone yet. I really would have liked to have moved him. For the zombie, the nearest guy is, of course, He-Man, but the zombie can only move a total of 3.5 inches. He's going to stop right there. The fly can move a total of 9 inches. The nearest guy is He-Man, so He-Man's going to have to deal with this pesky little flyer. The fly is not particularly tough. He-Man, remember, has a fight of, what's He-Man's fight? I want to say 4. It's always 4. Fight plus 4. Here we go. 2 versus 2. The fly has nothing, so we're going to push that fly back 1 inch. And this is where winning with the plus 4 to our fight skill, even though we didn't do any damage, really pays off. Because our hero is going to be able to use his activation on the companion phase to just say, you know what, I'm refusing combat. We can get most of our heroes off the table. In fact, Thundar, it turns out, is going to be bringing up the rear as he's prepared for combat. On turn number 8, boy, it's close, isn't it? This is a well-designed, well-balanced scenario. Props to you, Mr. Joe McCullough. Queen of Hearts. Oh, that can't be good. The high numbers are never good. Frenzy. Something in the air causes all evil models on the table to go berserk. For the next turn, all evil figures receive +2 to their fight skills, which leaves us deciding who is getting off the table. It's not going to be Thundar, who's going to pull back to here, and it's not going to be He-Man. I think those are our two best bets. Ukla and Ariel are close enough to be able to get off the table, leaving us with our bad guy turn. Remember our zombie here. Let me grab the 6-inch ruler. It'll be a little easier to drop in there, I think. So remember our zombie is going to move at half speed. So this will be 2. He's only got a speed of 4, but that's 2 to get to there. And then he can get to here because he's amphibious. He doesn't suffer from rough ground. And then again, he gets to move 1.5 inches, and that's really as close as he's going to get. He doesn't quite have what it takes to get there. Our Superfly does. Our fly is going to come into contact with the hero, and the hero is going to say, you go squish now, or maybe he's not. With a result of a 21, we subtract our hero's armor of 10, and we do 11 points of damage to our hero. It's a good thing we healed him because he has 12 hit points left. He is left with just 1 hit point. And man, on this next turn, we've got some decisions to make, don't we? 9, we are on a 9, turn number 9. Oh, He-Man, I guess we have to bring He-Man up. He-Man's going to fight the fly, and He-Man has a much better time of it. He-Man scores an 8 plus 4 is 12. The fly has an armor of 6. That does 6 points of damage, which is enough to kill the fly, and we really needed that because it frees us up on turn number 9. Everybody's gone. Random event card, red 5. Means a Knoll patrol passes through. Place 2 Knoll archers and 1 Knoll fighter at the center point of a randomly determined board edge, excluding the edge with the stairway. So for this, I'm going to roll a d6. This is going to be critical because on a 1 or a 2, they'll be too far away. On a 5 or a 6, they'll be too far away. On a 3 or a 4, they'll appear right here. And on a 5 or a 6, they're going to appear off to the eastern side of the board. Not going to do it. Our boys are not in contact. They're only 3 inches from the board. They get off on turn number 9. And whew, that was a close one. We probably could have fought this, but I don't like the way our luck had turned there towards the end of the turn. So we're done with this scenario. Let me clean up this. This is leftovers. We only made it through 9 turns, so we would have done turn 9 and turn 10, although that last one, it's the last thing to happen, so it rarely has an effect on the game. But you never know, do you? 4 experience points. This brings us to the post-game sequence. We'll start with experience points because they are right here. We get 2 experience points for every zombie or fly that we killed. We killed 4 zombies and 1 fly. That's 10 experience points. We didn't kill any gnolls. They showed up to the party a little too late to dance. We did find the strange flowers. That gives us 5 experience points. Did we successfully study those flowers? Well, what does it take to study the flowers? I guess it's time to do that, right? We need to make a survival roll. Who's got a really good survival ability? Our hero has a survival of 3. Do any of our heroes have? He-Man's got a survival of 3 as well. So either way, it doesn't matter. We get the same amount of experience points. We need to pass a toughness roll of 5. And with a 2 plus 3, we get a 5, and that means we studied them. So we did manage to study the strange flowers. That nets us another 5 experience points. That's 3 for successfully studying them. We did not successfully do a spell, but we did find a signet ring, right? The Eternia soldier ring for each hero that exits the table. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3 is square the 1, that's 12. And if the land was successfully mapped, I don't know what that means. Outcome. Assuming the Rangers survive, all figures start at the next scenario at starting health. Oh, that's good. Choose one figure that was not reduced to 0 health. That figure should make a navigation roll to map the land. Oh, who's got navigation? Somebody does. I think it's... Who's got navigation? Thundar, his own self, has +3. We need a toughness number of 8, so we roll. We get a 2 plus 3 is 5. Oh, that's 5 experience points that we lost out on. because of some bad die rolling on the skills, but we still wound up coming out with 35 experience total. Each of our companions gains 2 progression points. Ariel goes to 13, Ukla goes to 11, and no, I got that wrong. He-Man goes to 12, Ukla goes to 11. That nets him +1 to his health. So the only real increase here is that Ukla goes from a total health of 14 to 15, and I'll take it. With the 35 additional experience points, our hero goes from 380 to 415, and I think that's enough for him to level up. At 400 experience points, he does level up. And what does that mean? At level 4, so he starts at level 1, and then at 100 you become 2, so at 400 you become level 5, and that means we get to improve our skills. Improving skills means total of +5. The maximum we spend on 2, so we increase 5 skills by 1 each. Let's take a look. We blew our navigate roll. Let's add 2 right there. So navigate becomes 5. I think we're going to want to have some better climbing as 5, and then we have 1 more. Let's become better at noticing things. We like to notice stuff. So 5, 5, 4, that's what happens. And then our next skill will happen when we earn another 85 experience points, which generally I think we're earning about 30 to 40 per game. So we may need to play 2, maybe 3 more scenarios to grab that other level. He is at level 5 at this point. And that's all I've got for you today. You want to take a look at the next scenario? We can flip through it pretty quickly here. This is a great version of the game. It comes with all kinds of scenarios. Scenario 3, The Last Stand. The board looks a little something like this. To find out what exactly happens, you're going to have to tune in next time. The afternoon specials continue their descent into the Shadowdeep. Until then, I'm praying for you.